Hi, Helen from crystalsandcrochet.com here, and welcome to part one of Winnie's Wonder, our crochet along for 2024. I do recommend that you download the PDF, either the written only pattern or the photo tutorial, because I don't always give all of the stitch counts, so having the PDF will also help you to make sure stitch counts are correct. I'm using the yarn pack number 2 for the video tutorials. If you need to download the colours per round list, please go to the website to Introducing Winnie's Wonder. Scroll down to the yarn pack details, and there you can download the colours per round list. Okay, so I hope you enjoy. Let's get started. Okay, so round one, and we're going to start with a magic ring. Now, there is a link at the beginning of the PDF as to how to make a magic ring, but this is how I do mine. Okay, so yarn over your first finger, come around and cross over, and then you're going to put your hook underneath the first loop, over the second loop, and as you pull through, just twist, pick up, make a slip stitch, take your finger out. Okay, magic rings in themselves can very easily come undone. Okay, the same as any start. It's how you fasten it that makes it really secure, and we will cover that in another couple of rounds. Okay, I'm going to do a few rounds first, then I'll come back and cover fastening it. Okay, so we're going to make a beginning 3 double crochet cluster. So to do that, we're going to chain 2, and that counts as our first partial double crochet. Okay, yarn over into the ring, pull up a loop, yarn over and through 2. Okay, and then again yarn over into the ring, pull up a loop, yarn over through 2. We've got 3 loops on a hook. We're going to yarn over, pull through all 3 loops, and that's our beginning 3 double crochet cluster. Okay, then our repeat. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to make a 3 double crochet cluster. Okay, so each time you just pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over in and through 2, yarn over and through 2. Okay, so we've got 3 partial double crochets there. We're going to yarn over, pull through. We're then going to chain 1. Okay, and make sure with your chains that you keep them the same size as the top loops of your normal stitches. If you go too tight on your chains, you'll make your work pull together and cup. Okay, and another 3 double crochet cluster. It's a little bit fiddly working into the ring on this very first round, but take it slow and you'll get there. Okay, so that's our repeat. Chain 3, 3 double crochet cluster, chain 1, 3 double crochet cluster. And we're going to do that 4 times, but on the 4th repeat we're going to omit that last cluster. Okay, so I'm going to do that and then I'll come back to you to show you how to join to that last cluster. Okay, so we've done that 4 times, and remember the repeat is chain 3, 3 double crochet cluster, chain 1, 3 double crochet cluster. So on that last repeat we made a 3 double crochet cluster at the beginning before we started our repeat, so that's the one that you're going to omit, but don't forget that chain 1 space that you need in between. Okay, and we're then going to fasten off and secure our ends after round 3. So cut yourself a nice long tail, gently pull the end through, and then I'm going to do an invisible join because that's the way I like to do it. Okay, so here's my beginning cluster. That's the first chain 1 of the chain 3. So I'm going to go underneath the top 2 loops of that chain there, pull through, come back into that chain 1 there, and down through the cluster to the bottom. Okay, so there's my chain 1, there's the top of my cluster, and there's the beginning of my chain 3. Okay, and now I can pull up my magic ring, but leave your tail ends because it will be much easier to secure all of those after round 3. Okay, so that is round 1. Round 2. Okay, and there's a hint in the pattern that says your work will cup slightly. Okay, so let's have a see what we're going to do. We're going to join with a standing single crochet in any chain 1 space. Now I always recommend your new starting point be opposite your previous one. Okay, so here's my tail ends, so my starting point is down here for my last round, so I'm going to go opposite and start here. So into the chain 1 space and make a standing single crochet. Okay, we're going to skip the next stitch and then we're going to make 9 treble into the chain 3 space. Okay, so yarn over twice into the chain 3 space, and you're going to go through 2 loops 3 times. Okay, and we're going to make 9 treble. Okay, so particularly right at the beginning, it is really important to make sure that you get your stitch counts correct so that everything then works. Okay, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 treble into the chain 3 corner space, and then single crochet into the chain 1 space, so between those 2 clusters. Okay, and you will notice that these 9 treble, they will curl forward slightly. Okay, so that's what I mean by your work cupping. Okay, so we're going to do that 4 times, but omit the single crochet because we've already made it there. And we're going to join to that standing single crochet with a slip stitch. Okay, so I'm going to come back to you just before I join here. Okay. Okay, so now I'm ready to join with a slip stitch. So this is the way I do it, and I'll explain why. I'm working with a 4mm hook. So to make my slip stitch join, I'm going to go down 2 sizes on my hook to a 2mm. So just pull up a loop, pop your smaller hook in, under the top 2 loops of the stitch that you're joining to, make your slip stitch, pull the loop up and put your working hook back in. Okay, and what you will notice is that that slip stitch is now less than half the size of the top loops of a normal stitch. So basically, 1, it makes it neater, and 2, it means you don't mistake that slip stitch for a stitch, which could throw your stitch count out. Okay, so there we have round 2. Round 3, I'm going to chain 1, single crochet in the same stitch, so that's into the single crochet. Now I prefer to mark that first stitch when I've made it, so just slip your marker under the top 2 loops. That way I don't mistake either the slip stitch or the rising chain 1 for a stitch, and I know exactly where I've got to join to when I come all the way round. Okay, and then our repeat is very simple. We're going to back post single crochet around the next 9 stitches. Okay, now particularly with that first one, you can see this loop coming across here at the bottom. That's the 3rd loop of the stitch, so make sure your hook goes below that and around the stitch. Oops, start that one again. Okay, around, pull up a loop, make your single crochet. Okay, it's much easier on all the other stitches. It's just that first one of each shell that can be a little bit tricky. But when you're making back post stitches, always make sure that you are coming down below that 3rd loop at the top of the stitch. Okay, there's 8 and 9, and then single crochet in the next stitch. Okay, and that's our repeat. So when you're making back post stitches, what it's going to do is flip the top of the stitch over, so it gives you a sort of almost like a thicker ridge to the stitches. Okay, so that's why when you're making your post stitches, you always come below that. I don't know if you can see it that clearly on this darker yarn. Yeah, there we go. That's the top 2 loops up here, that's the 3rd loop down there, so always make sure that you're right down below those. Okay, so go ahead and do that 4 times. We're then going to join to that first single crochet, fasten off and secure all our ends. So I will come back to you to go over securing all of your ends, but particularly that magic ring. Okay, so leave yourself a nice long tail. Okay, there is absolutely no point, you know, cutting a tail that's literally only a couple of inches long, because you're just going to make it really hard for yourself to try to work it away. Okay, so a good 6 inches. Okay, so there's stitch number 1 that I marked. So I need to put my needle from back to front underneath the top 2 loops of that next stitch. Okay, I can then take that out, come through, down through the back 2 loops of that last stitch, over and through the single crochet, the first one that we made there, and down. Okay, and just ease it through so that it's the same size as the top loops of the other stitches. Okay, and then just bring your yarn down to the bottom of the previous round. Okay, so trying to work through the loops of those folded single crochets is just going to be too much like hard work. Okay, so come right down, and then we're going to go part way round, about halfway round this corner. Okay, the yarn's coming out here, we're going to come back half a stitch and go through, and we're going to repeat that 3 times. Okay, so come over half a stitch, up to the middle, down, If you are just working on a normal, shall we say, straight round or row, then you're just going to work in a straight line back and forth. But where you've got corners like this, if you work to the middle and across, to the middle and across, you keep that rounded shape. If you just go back and forth, what you'll do is you'll sort of flatten it out like that, so it won't keep its shape as well. Okay, I'll do that one in a minute. Magic ring. Now obviously we've got two ends here, and this one is our magic ring. So this is the one that I'm going to show you. If you are right-handed like me, the tail end of your magic ring will run in a clockwise direction. If you're left-handed, it's going to go anti-clockwise, okay? So basically you're just going to come underneath the bottom of these stitches, over half a stitch and up through the back to the next round. Okay, trying to work all of your tail ends away to that center is really hard work. I always use a pointed metal needle anyway to make it easier. And again, we're going to come halfway around the corner, come back half a stitch, and then along back half a stitch into the middle and down. Another reason that I use a pointed needle is because as you're working through, you actually find that you're sort of splitting the yarn and going through the yarn, which makes your ends far more secure. Okay. So the first end I work through on this corner, this end I'm going to work through on this corner, okay? Then the one from the magic ring, the first tail end, has come through this corner. This one I'm going to bring up the back of this stitch and work it away under this corner, okay? So that you're not over bulking your centre, but everything is so secure it is not going anywhere. Okay, round 4. Okay, before we start, we've got a hint that says take care not to skip extra stitches after cluster groups, and the cluster groups will cup. Okay, so that's our single crochet there, and we're going to join with a standing single crochet in the 5th back post single of any stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, there's number 5. Okay, with the back post single, and then we're going to single crochet in the next stitch. Okay, we're then going to skip the next 3 stitches, which are our back post stitches there, and then in that next stitch, which is a single, the reason mine looks stretched is because I've done this once, didn't like the colour, and I've taken it out again. So okay, in that stitch, the single crochet, we're going to make a 3 treble cluster and then chain 3 3 treble cluster twice. Okay, so because we're stretching, just yarn over once into the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over and through 2. And you can already see all of that slack yarn there. That is what causes baggy top loops. So we're just going to pinch the bottom of the stitch, take the hook out, pick up the yarn and go back into the working loop and go through 2. Okay, because we're making a cluster, so we're not going to complete the treble. Yarn over twice, into the stitch and through 2 loops twice, and again. So these are partial treble crochets that we're making. We've made 3 of them. Yarn over, pull through all 4 loops. Okay, and then our little repeat to do is chain 3. Keep your chains the same size as the top loops of your normal stitches. Okay, if you go too tight with your chains, you will cause your work to cup even more. Okay, now we only need to do that little trick with the treble on that very first stitch where we're stretching. Okay, so through 2 loops twice, yarn over twice, and through 2 loops twice, and for a 3rd time. Okay, I call these partial trebles because I haven't done that 3rd yarn over and through 2 loops. Okay, I've just done it twice. 4 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through. 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, now pull that cluster over to the side so you can clearly see that first stitch. We're going to skip 1, 2, 3, and we're then going to single crochet in the next 3. So it's the 4th, 5th and 6th back post singles. Okay, and then we've got 3 left there which we skip before we start again. Okay, so you'll repeat, skip 3, and then in the next stitch, which is the single crochet, if you're following the pattern as well, which I do always recommend, you'll notice it says in next stitch, open bracket, and then italic and purple, SC, single crochet, close bracket. Okay, where anything is italic and purple on the pattern, it's a hint. Okay, so the hint is that you're making this cluster shell into the single crochet. Okay, go ahead and do that 4 times. You're going to omit the last 2 single crochet because you've already made them, so you'll just have 1 to make here. Join to that standing single crochet with a slip stitch. Round 5. Okay, so as I said, don't worry if your little cluster shells curl up slightly. We're about to fix that. Okay, we're going to chain 1, half double crochet in the same stitch, half double crochet in the next stitch. Now it's very easy to mistake that rising chain 1 for a stitch. That's our first stitch there, so I'm going to pop a stitch marker in so that I know that's the stitch that I'm joining to at the end. Okay, front post single around the next stitch, and then we're going to make 5 single crochet in the chain 3 space. 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay, now whether it's a puff stitch or a cluster or a popcorn, when you're making the front post stitch, go into the gap, around and back up to the gap, so you capture all of the top of that stitch into your front post stitch. 3, 4, 5, front post single, and then half double crochet in the next 3 stitches. Okay, that's into your 3 single crochets. Okay, so front post single around the first cluster, 5 single crochet in the chain 1 space, front post single twice, half double crochet in the next 3 stitches, which are your 3 single crochets. All the way round, you've already made 2 half doubles here, so you've only got 1 left to make there on the last repeat. Join to that first half double crochet, fasten off and secure your ends. Sorry, I forgot, very important, mark the back loop, just the back loop of the second front post single of each repeat. Okay, that's going to be very important to you in the next couple of rounds. Round 6, and we are going to join with a standing front loop treble in the last stitch of any side. Okay, so our marker is in our corner stitch, so when you make a front loop stitch, always go up from bottom to top and make your treble. Okay, so it's only in the front loop, and don't worry if it stretches and pulls a little bit, because with the next round we're going to secure that, so everything will be fine. Okay, then our repeat is 5 front loop treble in the next stitch, which is our corner front post single. Okay, so we've got the back loop of this stitch already marked. Okay, so you're going to do 5 front loop treble. Leave your marker in the back loop. Okay, don't take it out. You are then going to front loop treble in the next 15 stitches. That first one can get squashed a little bit because you've got so much in here, so just pull over to the side to make sure that you get into that very first stitch. Okay, so up from the bottom into the front loop, and 15 front loop treble, 5 in the corner front post single, front loop only, all the way round, and join to that standing front loop treble with a slip stitch in the front loop only. Okay.